What up, human condition? This is your brother Bobby G coming at you like always from the place to be. It's nice to be with you. I know a couple of videos ago I mentioned that I wasn't going to bother putting together a Stratocaster for you because any fool could put together a Stratocaster. But for my special adventures here in parts casting, I'd like to come at you with a different angle. I'm going to put together a Stratocaster with basically parts I got laying around the shop. I'm going to make a classic 50 Strat. I'm going to try to keep my budget well under $100. So let's take a look at the usual suspects. We know that with every guitar, the two main culprits are the neck and the body. So let's take a look at what we're playing with right here. What our cheap little friends have. So here we go, man. I got two full-size body, 1 3/4 Stratocaster bodies just sort of sitting here in the corner. I got them in a trade off Craigslist. You know, I mean, I didn't pay a red cent for either of these, actually, honestly. But for accounting purpose, they're like $20 a piece, you know, I mean, in goods that I traded. And let's just say it that way. I got a nice black, looks like basswood, poplar maybe, a lightweight body. And I got a Dakota red, heavy as fuck, looks like plywood. Yes, that's plywood. I haven't actually looked at these bodies that well. The whole thing, what guitar that I'm going to build actually comes down to price, what kind of neck I can find, right? So I got the bodies. Let's find a cheap neck. So I went on eBay, and I found this. This is a hair under 40 bucks, and it's a one-piece maple neck with a skunk stripe on there. Right? Look at that. I mean, it's got those cheese bird, you know what I mean, fossil shell imitation inlays from China, but I'll pop them right out, put some black ones in there. So that's nice, you know what I mean? A little bit of work to do on it, but not too much, you know what I mean? Looks like it's very well done. There's no sharp edges, nothing. It's a nice little neck there. So, 57. That's what we're going to go with, right? That neck screams 57 to me. So the first 57 that comes to mind, of course, is the great Eric Clapton, Mr. Blackie. But I already got myself a nice black maple, you know, thing going on over here. I don't really need another, you know, guitar, you know, repeat just because, you know, I'm not that big of an Eric Clapton fan, you know what I mean? That was the 70s anyway. That was already when he was all played out. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's go with this red guy here. Dakota red, I was thinking about other famous 57s, and I thought about my man David Gilmour in Pink Floyd. He used to play a reissue. I think it was from the early 80s. Like a Japanese, you know, candy apple red. So I'm just going to spray candy apple red over this. You know, it's a rattle can from the AutoZone. And mash up with this guy, and we'll get a 57 out to you. A beautiful replica. And it's going to play well. It's going to look well. So let's go over the parts and see what we got and what we bought and just get to work on this fella. It was another short one for you. So, welcome to my parts video. Would you like to be a part of it? So I try to stay about $100. Sort of almost made it. Couple last minute things that I did not expect threw me for a loop, but this is what we got. This is what we're going with. This was the paint. I got it at AutoZone. I had a coupon. It was about $8. This is stuff I got. This I'm not going to include in the cost of the actual guitar, but I'm going to need it sooner than later. This is from the Dollar Tree. It's some nitro. See, nitro is actually the second ingredient in there. Nitro nail polish. It's a great touch-up thing. I'm going to need on those neck dots that I'm taking out. A little bit of primer. Yeah, it's Walmart. It's about $4. Here we go. 50s reissue pick guard, single ply from all parts. This is what you're going to look for. It's the cheapest thing you can do. It's not beveled. A lot of that real cheap stuff that you see from overseas is coming in. It's all beveled, and it's not going to suit your purposes. Here are the neck dots. Here are the non-metallic water slide decals with headstock. I took a quick look at them. They're wrapped up in like tissue paper and notebook paper. I don't know, it's a real homemade affair there. This is a matte finish boat jack from AliExpress. It was 99 cents. It's like a nickel matte finish. It's not even chrome. It's got screws and everything with it though, man. The screws look right too. It's like a number 5 for the 50s, those screws. So that's actually, you know, if you don't like, you know, the matte finish, if I don't like the matte finish going down the line, I could always swap that. That's easy peasy. Set of Fleors. I'm not using Clousons on this. This is split shaft tuners. These are the best cheapies. Look for that brand, you know, if you're looking for that cheap inline. These are really good. Split shaft deal. They don't have the correct bushings, but I got a set from the parts drawer over there. And here we go. This I got like custom shop design off of eBay from like British Columbia, Canada. This is like 20 American US dollars, which is like 57 Canadian dollars, which is like enough for like a case of like Elsinore and like a pack of smokes, eh? So good day to all my friends at Custom Shop Design up at British Columbia, Canada, eh? It comes with screws and everything. I wasn't really trying to hurt Eric Clapton's feeling. You are God. That's why I custom picked the number before Blackie. Although most of these 50s stamped Fender ones have like a little line here. No, Springsteen's does, Blackie does, or 0. It's usually a line for the 57s, but some of them don't. You know what I mean? So that's good. It looks good. And here is, I got this off eBay. This is off like a 2003, supposedly. Fender, standard Stratocaster. I saw a couple scratches on it, then I looked closely and saw the secondary film is actually still on there. You see that? See that there? So I could just peel that little film off there, and it comes with the original screws too. And we'll be in business. You know what I mean? That was like totally soups. So this is where we went over it. So that's about $100 worth in parts right there. Plus I got, ordered some saddles, some stamps, Fender saddles. Let's see here. This is 8, right? And we'll figure this is $2. So that's 10. Plus the neck was 40. That's 50. This is about 15. So 65, right? This is 5, 70. This is 20. So that's about 90. And this is 10, about 100. This is about $1, so 101, right? And yeah, I mean, we're pretty close. Plus you got sales tax, of course, now, unfortunately. But I didn't get the saddles, man. They didn't come. Instead, I got a package in the mail that had this letter in it, and like a piece of rubber, which is a free gift. And I was like, what is this free gift for? Why am I getting this letter? Well, it says, dear customer, thank you for shopping from us. Due to out of stock. Oh, well, $3. So I mean, out of stock from China. It means have not been manufactured yet. So it means good luck, Charlie. So I basically, was SOL on that. I looked online to see if I was anything, close to $2.30 that I could fit onto this Squire, short block. You know what I mean? So I could be as cheap as possible and get out of this build without spending more than $100 of my hard-earned money. And I didn't find nothing, man. I found a couple other things also from overseas, which is another 3-week delay. And a lot of the feedback said they were no good. They didn't say Fender on them. They were the wrong size, and you get the wrong thing, and then you're waiting another 2 months. So I want to get this done with. So I took a better look for $20. A real Fender part. Yes, this is the vintage assembly. These are the Fender saddles on there, big block on there. Yes, it's big block. If Leo saw this on the workbench, it would fool him. It's so well made in Taiwan. But it is very, very well done. And if you wanted to get like real crazy about it for like $30, you could actually buy Pat Penn saddles to throw on here. You know what I mean? But don't give a shit about the Pat Penn saddles. Honestly, I was going to use this. But it was $20, you know what I mean? So about $120, $130, whatever. Sales tax. Stuff that we had. These are the wiring I'm going to use. These are the pickguard screws I'm going to use. These are these actual value caps. I have a lot of caps in my parts drawer. I really do. Some good stuff, some old new stock, new old stock stuff. But you know what I mean? I want to use the cheap stuff, man. I want to get away with spending as little as possible. This is the actual value. I got like 950 of them left from the Strat ones, but I'll probably use these. These are 22s. You know what I mean? Considering, probably be a better tone with what I'm doing. I haven't decided yet. Here's an old trem assembly kit. I think that the body actually has a claw in it, so I'll just use what I need. Got the screws for the front. It's got the springs, so that's nice. Had that sitting in the drawer for a while. Here's a set of Squire string trees. These are a little bit too wide. Just put them in like a little jig and get the Dremel out and grind it down to the correct size. Here are the correct bushings for my Fleor tuners, but that's the Fender look. Here are the guts from a pre-wired Telecaster control panel that I actually just got it because I wanted to get the control plate itself. This is a three-way switch, and the cool thing about these import three-way switch, and I need three-way, is you can put it in that legendary second position and it'll stay. It's like a real stiff, these things, but you know what I mean? That's cool, right? So I mean, it'll sound great. And I mean, I'm gonna turn this trash into treasure. I'm gonna use a 500K master volume, you know what I mean, on this Strat. Another cheap thing. I'm gonna put a couple booster seat washers behind it because it's a long guy for more of like a Gibson. But I'm gonna use that just because I have it and I want to get rid of it. I got these knobs a couple years ago. I think the color is butter. I like them. I always liked that. And so I got this out of a luthier lot from a luthier who passed off eBay a couple years ago. This might be like a real, I mean, it looks like it, you know what I mean? Those little nubby ones from the 50s. It might not, you know what I mean? But it was in the lot. It was in my drawer for a couple years, so I don't need it. I'm going to yellow all these plastics up to match these knobs. I'm going to keep this white. I think that contrast does look good. Pickups, these are actually, these two right here from a Spectrum Strat. It's like sold in Target years ago. They're not staggered, but they sound killer. They're ceramic. They're kind of almost yellow themselves. I took them out of a guitar I had built, and I haven't even played the guitar since I upgraded them because, I mean, they sound so good. This is a bridge pickup. This is actually staggered, and they're also ceramic. So I'm going to use like some real piecemeal here, folks. Real piecemeal on that. I'm going to yellow up that plastic. So there we go, man. 8 minutes and 44 seconds of babbling, basically to tell you this is what we're going to put into this little guitar. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get that guitar painted. Peace. Alright, well, just seeing if these two components partner up together. It looks pretty good. Little gap right there at the front. Although in my experience that generally doesn't really make too much of a difference in anything. I might want to open the pocket up a tiny bit of smidge, you know, just to get a little tighter, but again, it doesn't really make a difference if I do that or not. So, looks to be Dakota Red, like I said. Going over it with a metallic, which is candy apple red, which is essentially the same hue as the paint that's on it now. So we run through. It's no big deal because it's kind of like the same thing, only, you know, non-metallic underneath. His body, I was checking it out. It looks like somebody, I don't know, 25 years ago, put some epoxy on some nicks here, either to prevent them from chipping any further, or to possibly, you know, use it as like some kind of a filler. You know what I mean? In a possible rehab project, I don't know. But in the millions of years that this has been on here, it's not fully cured. I don't even know what it is. It's still a little tacky. Sure, it looks like somebody tried to remove it or even it out, but it's still in here. It's kind of a mess. So let's get, you know, all the holes plugged. You know, do a little bit of Bondo on it. You know what I mean? Get everything smoothened out. And then we'll put it on a stick. We're going to hit up the areas that, you know what I mean, that we sand the stuff off of. You know, need leveling with this filler primer. Let that dry. You know, wet sand it again. You make sure it's totally smooth. And then we're going to just coat it with this. Possibly do a clear coat over top of it. Most likely, I mean, generally with metallics, you know, you need at least one clear coat over it just to, you know, smooth on the groove. So give it a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and we'll give it a little bit of this. Let's get to work. Alright, so here we are. I spent a hell of a lot of time trying to get that crap out of those crevices on this thing. It turns out, I think it was like silicone, man. I think that they just put some silicone on there, stop it from cracking any further. But I mean, I couldn't get it off with any solvent. I couldn't get it off with any sanding. You know, it was basically I had to take like little box cutters and X-Acto knives to peel it out of there. It was a real tedious pain in the ass. Get in there real good, but that's done. I plugged all the holes in it. Fortunately, I scraped some paint off there too, but that's okay. And I cleaned it with a little bit of lighter fluid, a little naphtha. And I got the Bondo over there, so I'm going to mix up the Bondo and I'm going to put it in, you know, all these little crevices here, and there's some nicks and dents here, and this is, you know, pretty deep, these scorches. It looks like, other than the silicone underneath it, it looked like he put some Elmer's glue on there, probably like 30 years ago, you know what I mean, and that probably didn't work, so then he tried the silicone and eventually just abandoned it. Eventually, at one point, somebody, maybe him, maybe who, her, them, tried to sand it off, and it was a disaster. So I figured out how to get it off there. It's off. We're going to Bondo this guy up, put it on the stick, and well, bring it outside on the next nice day. So I'm going to put a pause right here, and I'll hit you up right when it's done bondoed up. So we're all bondoed up. A little bondage going on. It's a real pain in the ass getting that level. You know, it's not perfect. You sand it to 200 because you want something for the primer to sort of latch into. You know what I mean? But we, you know, washed it off with alcohol, let it dry, got it on the paint stick, hopefully in a secure fashion. And right now we're gonna hit it up with the primer. You know, just in the areas really that we've done the Bondo work on. We don't want to do the whole body, although this might be a potential mistake in the future. And then we're going to bring it back downstairs, wet sand it, totally smooth as we can get it. This is a filling primer, so hopefully we'll be able to get some final levelage out of these nasty looking areas. And then we'll hit it up with the metallic lacquer, candy apple red. So I'll put it on pause right here, and I'll show you when we're done hitting it up with the lacquer. So you see I got one coat of filler primer on, and I'm just going to give you an example of how it works. Let's take this was the worst area. It's always like tricky how you see it. You know what I mean? After it's one color. When it's a million colors, it looks like it's totally smooth. But see how with one coat you can still see a lot of the imperfections right there. So I'm going to go ahead and spray with a second coat so you can see what filler primer does. You know what I mean? The real meat and potatoes of it. So give me 1 second, I'll spray it and I'll come right back. And now there's with another coat on it. See it? It's like all that relief is gone. So that'll be able to, you know, be sanded out smooth. So what we're going to do now, because we pretty much, you know, we don't want to put too much of primer on there. There's going to be a couple little dents on here. Bring it downstairs, sand it, wet sand it from, I say 320, 800, 1500. Get it totally smooth, and bring it out here and start the lacquer work. So we'll see you on the flip. So we got it sanded out. We're back outside. It's hot as hell today. It's like 100 degrees outside. In the shade though, where we got our guy, we all washed off. I'm going to give this primer here about an 8.5 out of 10. Not bad, you know what I mean? A little slow to dry, but solid. You know, I can't really give it a final grade until we actually put lacquer on top of it, but not that bad. You know, sand's good. Comes apparently pretty smooth. So we're going to do the lacquers now, and we're going to probably do the whole can in one day, and then we'll check it out tomorrow to see if it needs any type of clear coat, which it probably will. So I'm going to put a pause right now, put on either some or all that lacquer, and come right back to you. I just nicked it. So now we got one coat on. We sort of pull it back here into the shade, and see that primer is actually kind of hot beneath the surface, so I gotta keep my eye on that. We're gonna do a couple thinner coats as opposed to just putting that whole bottle on in one scope like I usually do. Impatient guy. So let me put it on pause again, then we'll give it a finer coat, come right back. So I still got like about a quarter of the can left, which is rare for me with these 8-ounce AutoZone cans, but I think I've gone as far as I can with the color. You know, it seems to be like, if you take a look at it in the sunlight, you know what I mean, it's got that metallic sheen, close up. You know, there's a couple of these like white pockets here. Seem to be like brighter than, you know, the rest of the surface area. You can see. But I think that a nice clear coat will knock that sucker right off. So I'm, you know, feeling lucky with the Rust-Oleum. I'm using my boy on this one, my favorite one. I'm gonna just let this sit on here for about a half hour, right? Let it dry, break out in this hot ass sun, and then I'm gonna come back out here with the clear coat to seal the deal. Right before I clear coat it, I'm gonna bring out, you know, the wet sanding stuff, knock off anything that I see that looks a little suspicious, you know what I mean, lightly, and put down that clear. So I'm gonna put it on pause again and hit you after the clears are done. As we see when we're drying here, right in here, that it's even more prevalent on the back. See where we boxed around the trim cover. See that outline there? That this either one of two things: either the lacquer is not completely opaque, right, or the black dye in the primer is one of those quantum leapers, you know, leap through layer to layer, putting things wrong that once went wrong, and hoping that each leap to the next leap would be the leap home. Let's put on those clears. So we're doing the clear coat little by little. It's actually coming out fucking fantastic. That opaque thing isn't that big of a deal now. I'm using my regular go-to clear coat. This is the shit. This is the best. You know what I mean? Walmart. I got my wet sanding actionary right there. You know what I mean? Between these coats, and it's looking great. So one more pause when we're done and about to go inside. And as the sun goes down and the day is over, the last of the light is almost gone. So I've used probably about, you know, 2/3 a can of this bad boy on there. I'm starting to get the feeling that my mission here with the paint is done. It's passable. You know what I mean? For a novelty guitar. So maybe give it another coat or two. We've been sanding it between coats over the past like 2.5, 3 hours, up to 3,000. You know, I ride on the stick. Looks like it's, you know, as coated as it's gonna be. So I'll give it another coat or two, pull it down off the stick and let it dry in the basement, and give it some final love tomorrow morning. Until then, take it light, take it easy. It's the next day. This morning I wet sanded it 1,000, 1,500, and then I steel wooled around the sides. Used the pick guard sort of as a guise of what I didn't really have to, you know, mess with under the guard. I didn't care, you know what I mean? And after we did the, you know, quadruple zero steel wool around the sides, and, you know, got rid of all the orange peel that we saw on the front, then we sanded it again at 3,000, wet sanded. Then we just polishing compound, you know, a lot of elbow grease. I'm not going to put any wax on it for the, you know, for a week, because that generally doesn't react well with this particular paint for, you know, for at least a week. So I'm just going to let it set. You know what I mean? It's nice and shiny. It looks great. You know, a hell of a lot better than it looked anyway. You know what I mean? There are a couple little things that I probably would have, you know, worked a lot harder to sort of, you know, mask or get rid of if I really, you know, and if I was doing it for show. You know what I mean? But this is just, you know what I mean, another one of my many strats that I'm going to just kick around. So I don't really care that much, you know what I mean, for the little things and dents. We are doing a tribute to a guitar that's like, you know, what, 60, 70 years old. So, you know, a couple little dents, no big deal. All right, so see you on the flip. Flip me around, flipper. Now that the body's pretty much done, it's time to turn our attention to the neck, as always. Now, I said in the beginning, in the introductory video, how lovely a neck this was, and I was right. You know, it's gorgeous. It is a one-piece neck. You can see a little line there. You're going right up the body into where, you know what I mean, the neck is. I mean, it's just great. I mean, for what I paid for it, you know what I mean, it is an import neck, you know what I mean, but, you know, it is definitely quality first, man. So there are two things I really need to do for this neck to sort of bring it up to grade. First and foremost, of course, is to pop these guys out and replace them with black ones. Now, you know, I thought about, you know, in the beginning, since it's so wonderfully finished. It's the gloss is gorgeous on this. It's flawless. I didn't really want to break the finish, you know what I mean, by popping these guys out in case it gets all fucked up. I mean, that's possible. You know what I'm saying? Pulling them out, I might ruin the finish. But, you know, I was thinking of painting them. You know what I mean? It's gonna get worn off the paint. You know, I've tried that before, and every time I do it, I always end up upgrading the neck because it always ends up as a mistake. Because once you paint it, you get the paint around the edges there. You know, it becomes harder to sort of take them out. So I'm gonna take them out. I'm gonna give it a shot. The second thing has to be done with this neck is on the 57s. They had that little walnut plug here, which was like a truss rod plug. You know, the truss rod went through the back cavity here, and it was, you know, inserted this way, I think. And there was a little plug there. So I was thinking maybe I would just make one of those. I got a little piece of rosewood here that came with an old bridge. It's a nice solid little piece of rosewood. I could whittle it down, and I could, you know, get a little router going here and get it in there, sand it down. But I'm going to end up having to mess up this finish, and that's a big job. You know what I mean? So I'll put that aside. So I was thinking, oh, maybe what I'll do is I'll sand off, you know, a little, you know, with teardrop shaped, you know, a bald spot here, tape it off, you know what I mean? Put a little bit of stain on there, finish it over, you know what I mean? And try to trick it out that way. It's like, again, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, you know what I mean, having to go, you know, I don't want to mess up the finish. And it's too nice. The finish is too pretty. So I'm just going to paint it on. I'm just going to paint it right on top of the finish. I've done that before. Here's a 58 I did a while back. This is I call Buddy Holly. This is my Buddy Holly. Get her. Got the serial number right around, number around Buddy Holly's famous 58. So I just painted this one on. You know what I mean? And it looks great. You can't even tell. You know what I mean? You don't really come in contact with that. You know what I mean? Like, the strings are right on top of it. It doesn't get anywhere. It doesn't get touched by anything. So, I mean, if you do a good job, like this was done, nobody will ever tell. So that's how I'm going to do that on this one. You know what I mean? We'll take a shortcut and we'll take a long cut on this. So I'm going to put a pause here, and I'll give you a quick video just to sort of show and I got to stop the video. I'm not going to pause it because it's going to take a long time to do that. But those are the only two things we really need to do. You know what I mean? To get this thing up to snuff. Before we pop out the dots, though, we're going to want to, you know, adjust this rod to make sure this is totally straight. You know, we'll you know, even out the frets afterwards. But, you know, let's make sure this is totally legitimately level. You know what I mean, while we're replacing these things. This is going to be a pain in the ass. This is the part I'm most dread about this little build, but we're staying on the cheap. I mean, this bag, like I said before, you know what I mean, there's like 50 of them in there. It was like $2. I mean, I have many guitars I can do with that little bag. So, I'll see you guys on the flip. Peace. And here we aren't. Well, I mean, it's not pretty, but it's functional. So, yeah, those pearl inlays were real shell. Did not expect that. And they were a real pain in the ass to get out, like extremely. The only one that didn't shatter was this one. And I saved it to sort of show you that, unfortunately, once I did scrape them out of there, as carefully as possible, they're a lot thinner than the plastic ones. And, you know, neck was only drilled out, you know what I mean, for that, you know, depth. So all these stood proud, and that was just not a good look. So
you know, after scraping them all out, and they took some finish with them, you know what I mean, coming off there, you know, I just got a 1/4-inch drill bit, and I just, you know, I drilled it out, and I put these guys in this crazy glue, and put a little bit of nitro nail polish over it, you know, and, I mean, it doesn't look great, but I mean, you know, unless you're like looking at it, you know what I'm saying. And this little knob, you know, we just did acrylic paint right over the thing and coated it again with, you know, nitrocellulose lacquered nail polish. And, I mean, you could just take that off with the nail polish remover if you didn't like it. You know what I mean? That's what's cool about it. So, yeah, that's that. So now it's time to put the water slides on. Generally, I like to do like the metallics and everything, but I'm seeing a lot of the older ones, the metallics are kind of wear off, and I'm going on the cheap now. So I got, you know, set off eBay. That was only like, you know, like $6, $7, something like that, $8, I think, shipping. I don't know. And I mean, obviously, it's a homespun affair here. Should have been a little bit more prepared. Since I'm also going to do my Eddie Wilson guitar, you know, I got two 61s. I don't know why. One's like a 61, and one's like a late 61. But this is the one I'm going to use for my Eddie guitar. And I'll put that guy away. And I'll just cut this bottom line of text off. You know what I mean? Cut around there. You all know how to do water slides. I mean, there's a million videos on the internet about water slides. So if you're ignorant on... If you're ignorant on the water slides, just look one of those videos. See if I got a good... I didn't even look through this yet, so here we go. We'll cut that pat pen off there. What's that? Contour body. There's a contour body. I didn't see that. Luckily, I only need one. So, I'm not going to worry about the contour body this time. Although, when I get to do an Eddie Wilson, I'll have to figure something out then. I'm just going to cut that pat pen off there. And put them on right now. I'm going to put a pause. And I'll hit you on the flip. By the power of Grayskull. So there you go, man. You know, about these particularly, I guess you get what you pay for. You know what I'm saying? Looks like he's coated them with some kind of clear, flat, probably acrylic paint. But there's lots of bubbles, like in his little clear coat over the, you know, decal itself, which kind of fucks up the whole thing, man. You know what I mean? There's a bubble on this one. I don't know. I'm not going to scrape it off because look, it didn't cost me that much money. You know what I mean? I like the flat non-metallic thing though. That's cool. You know, it looks good. You know, from afar, you know, this looks great. When you get close, you'll see all the fucked up parts. So there it is, man. Pretty much done with the neck. So let's get those electronics done. Alright, so electronic time, man. Electronic time it is. Got the pick guard going. I haven't taken this extra film off yet. I will shortly. The back we don't have. Ooh, American made. Look at that. Good for you, all parts. Way to be patriotic, bruh. I'm going to put a little bit of a foil shield. The foil tape here. You know what I'm saying? Like usual. I want to peel this off. First thing I got to do is yellow up those plastics. You know, weird surge of like electricity just went through everything, man. That was weird. I actually made a separate video for this because this is important not only for this project, but I think it's a cool little hint. What I did was I sanded these down with some steel wool, and I got some watercolor paint, and I mixed it to sort of match this color, and I just sort of brushed it on, and you know, smoothed it out with a piece of magic eraser. You know, one of those sponges, magic eraser sponges, and I did that on this little nub too. So got a uniform color now, which is cool, which is gonna look real classy with that. Got the pickups here. So you know, we got all this little hobnob slob stuff here. I'm gonna use the 22s. I made that decision. So let's assemble this. Let's get this ready to rock and roll. Once we get the, you know what I mean, the basics hooked up with this, you know that you're well on your way to putting the guitar, the final cough. Another thing I did, let me just pause for a second here. With this neck here, what I did is sort of, because it was flat, to add sort of just a little dimension, a little hint of metallic action to it. What I did was I got like an old Crayola, metallic gold, just regular crayon. And just in the wider parts of it, just, gave it a little tiny hint. You can't really see it here. It doesn't make too much of a difference, but it makes a little bit of a difference, Just a little tiny bit of metallic. You can do this with, like, if you have like a smooth, blunt, ended, like gold, grease makeup, pencil, or even like a real, soft leaded metallic color pencil too. So that's that. Let's get these electronics finished up, and we're pretty much almost done here. Once we get the pickguard loaded, we just gotta assemble everything, and then set it up. Peace. We are loaded, bruh. Loaded up, man. I did it the Squire way, really. Since we're using all cheap Squire-esque components, I pretty much wired it up Squire. I've done so many of these, I pretty much did it from memory. It's pretty self-explanatory, the way you wire up a Strat. You know what I mean? One thing I wanted to tell you that I did is also the Squire way that purists could be like, oh, good God. I use number 6, sheet metal screws, as opposed to 632, oval head machine screws. First of all, you don't have to tap out the bobbins, the cheap bobbins, which have a different thread. You know what I mean? And you don't have to. It's coarser, so it's quicker to up and down with the pickups. You know what I mean? For me, it's just easier with the cheaper stuff. You know what I mean? Who cares? You know what I mean? It works better. You just want to get a Miller's file or a Dremel and blunt the ends of these sheet metal screws, because they'll scratch you, or they'll scratch the finish of the guitar as you're putting it together, and that's just not something you want to do. You can scratch the finish of the guitar anyway. So now that this is done, we're ready to rock and roll, and we're all wired up, all three-way fluxing. We're going to want to put the neck and the body together, so we're going to have to put the tuners, on first. If you take a look here, though, here's our little bushings. We're going to want to put them in first. You're going to see the bushing, since this is a cheap, 10mm neck, it's to swim around in that hole, and that's not, that's not cricket. So what we got to do is this is what I do anyhow. I take some regular old masking tape, cut it up in little strips that are about, that wide, and roll it around this guy, wrap it around till it fits in there firmly, like it belongs there. Put those tuners on, and I'll hit you around right when I'm going to hit the neck into the body, and I'll see you on that junk shower. Home stretch, folks. So we got the body off the stick. It's been drying for over a week now, so it was good to put a nice thick layer of butcher's wax. That's when you're going to want to do it right now, because you're going to be manhandling it, and you're going to want that wax on there as a base. So did that. Also, we put the claw back in there. The claw was in there. We want to, once the neck and the body go together, we want to try to manhandle it as little as possible. Also, I forgot to put this in the parts video back in time. These are Strat buttons. I got a whole bunch of these Fender style Strat buttons. These are really nice. A lot of the ones that you get, from the imports just aren't the correct shape. These are correct. You have to really kiss a lot of frogs for the prints sometimes on that overseas stuff. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this plate rested against the back here, and we're going to put this neck, which we have tuned up. All the tuners are on there. See that? Nice inlines. Everything went according to Hoyle with the bushings. Thank goodness. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the pocket, right? And try to get it as tight as possible in here, right? And we're going to hold it straight. Whoop. See? Hold it straight up in the air like this. Holding this against there, and we're going to put that quick grip on there and just grip it down with, holding that neck plate on the back. You know what I mean? Hang on one second here. Alright, so I had to move into the workshop here just to give you an idea. You want to line up those holes perfectly, you know what I mean, in the on the back there. Make sure that this part right here, I don't know if you can see that, right here is totally straight, perpendicular against this little, you know what I'm saying, you want it to be totally up against that. And you clamp as nice as you can. So what we're going to do, I got my little drill bit here. This is a, you know, specifically for fender screws. So it's exactly, you know what I mean, that size. So we got it taped off. We don't want to go any further than that. We don't want to go through that neck. So we're going to put it in the drill. We're going to very carefully drill these out one by one. Put the screws in slowly. Nice big fat screwdriver we got there. Very carefully. And I'm going to put it on pause and I'll show you when the neck's on. Pray for me. And there we go, man. There we go. It went perfect. You got to be real careful with the guitar, you know, at this point. Be real mindful of its surroundings. Because this is, you know what I mean, when you're assembling it, you're not really looking at things or watching things where you're going to bang into places, get it scratched up. You know what I mean? Easy to fuck it up before it even gets into commission. So, let's flip it over. Let's lay those electronics and bridge in there to see where we stand, sort of move things around, see what's up. Hang on. Alright, so here we go. Looks like there's going to be a little gap between the pick guard and the bridge. I mean, that's the way it is. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, the real way, real Stratocasters. Yeah, and I'm saying I should open up this pocket just a little tiny bit more, but I didn't, and yeah, nothing you can do about it at this point. Basically, this looks pretty good. I just want to get in there with a little file and just get this perfect right against there, and then we'll put it down, you know what I mean, and we'll start, you know what I mean, soldering it together. And I'm just going to keep you on a running pause here until the damn thing's assembled. Alright, so now we got everything soldered up, you know what I mean, supposedly. So what we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to do the tap test. We're going to, before we screw this down, we're going to want to go carefully plug, you know what I mean, this into the amplifier and just tap on these pickups in all the different positions to make sure that everything's, you know, soldered correctly. Because once you put the strings on there, you know, I mean, that's the wrong time to make that diagnosis. So let's just go do the tap test real quick. Okay, so the tap test worked. We got sound out of all the pickups. The pot worked, you know what I mean, the cap worked, you know, I heard it dampen dampen the tone, so we're good. So let's screw this guy down, and I'll come back after we got screwed down. Alright, so we got screws on, we're one step closer. So let's put the bridge on now. We're going to place the bridge here carefully, you know, mindful of the paint. Try to get that guy centered, as centered could be. We got the tremolo assembly pack. Those screws out. Remember, we're only going to use some of this stuff. You're going to get rid of these two screws right off the bat because that, for the claw and everything, because we use the same claw that it came with. Yeah, this comes with all kinds of stuff. It's like a Allen key. Look at them. This is like better than. This came with an import set, believe it or not. It was like $8. It was like a copy of like the Squire drop-in. He even had the fender saddles. I got this years ago, since, you know, been banished from the eBay marketplace. But I had a whole bunch of assemblies left, and they were all perfect. Look at these chrome screws. It's like a number 7-inch round head screw. Not easy screw to find. Cool. So let's get that bridge on very carefully. Alright, so we got that guy gone down. Not a hard job. Not a fun job, but not hard. So now we're going to flip it over and we're going to do the trem springs. This is always a pain in the ass. People hate this. You know, it's also a very easy way to scratch up your guitar. You know, there's different ways to do it. I like to put the spring in the hole, right? Oh, I can't get it in the hole. My first time. Then I like to walk it back with a pair of pliers like this. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do it. I can't do it one hand. I'm only going to do 3 springs. That's all it came with. That's all you really need. You know, also with those screws on the front for the tremolo. These guys over here, we just put down. You don't want to put them all the way down. You want to leave them a little bit up where the trem won't, function correctly. So let's pull these guys back. I don't do fanned out. I just do one in the middle and one on each skirt. So let's pause and hook them up. And there we go. We got the trem screws on. So I'm going to take a little break here. We're looking good. We're looking smooth. Give myself something to eat. Relax. Maybe come back to this tomorrow morning. Peace. Alright, next day. Rested, relaxed, cooled out. So what we're going to want to do here, we're going to want to put the trem plate on here. And let's grab the lamp. We're going to line it up, of course, with the holes exactly. Center it. Get a good idea of where it used to be, because, you don't want to look bad. And that looks about good. So let's peg her down right there. I'm going to put you on pause. There we go. Peg down, peg down, peg down, peg down, peg down, peg down. So now what we got to do, we don't have too much left. You know what I mean? Let's put the strap buttons on. For the strap buttons, we use same screws that we used actually on the for this oval head number 6 sheet metal screws, 1 inch. That's what we use. So let's put them on now. On this bottom here, I saw that I had to re-drill it. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like up here. You know what I mean? Like an Eddie Van Halen like hook. So let's put them on correctly. You want to line that last one up with this. You know what I mean? Right down there. Straight out. So there they are. They're on the right place. So now we got to thread those strings on there through the back, and we're to keep the be in the little E string a little slack, so we could get a good idea, you know what I mean, where that little string tree goes, which I still have to Dremel that thing down. I just forgot about that completely. So let's put the strings on, and then we'll shape that thing and screw it in there. So bear with me. Now you're gonna want to dress the frets as you're sort of setting it up. Something that's relatively easy to do. The way I do it, you know what I mean, is you just take these. Look like they're good. I just want to open them up a little bit. I have a sharp-edged rat tail file here, so I'm just gonna go in here very carefully and just sort of open it up a little tiny bit. I hate being like the one-hand camera, man. I'll be the guy who fucks it up. Hang on one sec. So we open it up a little bit with that rat tail file. We're going to take a little piece of old acoustic string. You know what I mean? I always have this little thing. We just put it in there, sort of, smooth it out a little bit. I got an old mechanical pencil here. My wonderful daughter gave me a whole bunch of them. Let's put some graphite in there. Nice and smooth. And we just pop the string in there. Tighten her up a little bit. That's nice. That's nice. Alright. Onward and upward. Alright, so we got it strung up. I actually really got lucky because I took a set of 10s. I think they were Ernie Ball 10s off a 59 Strat to put some flat wounds on there. So I just, threw them on here. And there they are. So we have these are still, I have to lighten my hand because I'm trying to be effective here. These are still not up to par. I got the tablet up here, with the picture, and you can see that it's a little bit too wide. If you take a look at the part that I have, you know what I mean? Goes probably right about, sorry. I'm not like a one-handed cameraman. Right around there, right? but it's a little too wide. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this piece, we're going to hold on to it, we're going to Dremel it down a little tiny bit, shore it off, and as you can see with the 57, it's right down to the wood, so there is no spacer there. So we're not going to put any spacer, and I'm going to put a pause, and when this looks like that, then I'll let you back into a little secret here. And there we go. It's on. It's assembled. Yay! Right on. So let's do the intonation, the tuning, and all that fun stuff. And we'll give some glam shots, a quick test run, and then we'll call it a day with our cheapo 57 friend. Peace. And here we are. You know, I was just watching that last video, and I realized I said I was dressing the frets when I was setting the nut depth. Anyway, sorry about that. Sometimes I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It came out beautiful. You know, out of all the Strats I have, this thing plays like, you know what I mean? It's so solid. Maybe it's that, you know what I mean? Weighs in at like 10 pounds. Maybe it's that big ass, solid plywood body combined with that one piece poly neck. You know what I mean? That just that big ass block. That big old fender block in there. Maybe that's really what gives it the solidity. But it's a great guitar, man. You know, and it plays so nice. And all those cheap cheeseburger electronics that are in there, they're perfect. There's no crackles. There's nothing, you know what I mean, asunder. You know what I mean? It's all good in the hood with this thing. We've seen the back, you know. Our trials and tribulations of many nations. So, there it is, man. You know, for about, you know, a little bit over 125, 130 bucks, something like that. You know, out of pocket, we got a guitar that, out of all the Strats I have, you know, this is probably the best neck, the most solid neck. And I've used Fender necks made by Fender, and I've used Fender licensed necks, and but I mean, that cheap $38 neck from eBay from China, man, Poly Dream, man, it really is really solid, and the fretwork was great too on it. So let's do the sound test, and even the flat, you know what I mean, thing looks good, man. It's not, you know what I mean? It's really a good looking, good sounding guitar, man. You know, out of nothing. So, let's do the sound test and set you on your way. Peace, 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 peace. Ladies and gentlemen, the king of Asbury Park, Johnny Rock. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's the king of Asbury Park, Johnny Rock, 1957 Cherry Red Stratocaster. God bless you, Johnny Rock. Thank you so much, brother.
There you go.